Dad lifted his glass, laughing like I'd missed the joke. "Your sister earned everything herself," he said. "Eyes on me, unlike you." The table went still. Mom's hand froze over the serving spoon. Helena didn't look up. Something sharp settled in my chest. I leaned back slowly, my voice barely above a breath. "Then I'll stop sending you money." The color drained from Dad's face. "What money?" he asked, truly confused. In that silence, the house finally told the truth. Every lie, every favoritism, every hidden debt cracked open. That was the night the house stopped pretending. "Before we go on, tell me where you're watching from, city or state, and one detail about your setup. Couch, kitchen, night shift, anywhere." Echoes of life read every comment, even the quiet ones. From the outside, we looked enviable. Sunday dinners, matching sweaters, framed smiles no one lived. Inside, I was the quiet daughter, the one who apologized first, the one who stayed small. Helena shined without trying. Everyone adored her. Teachers, neighbors, our parents most of all. Dad ran the house like his old restaurant. Loud orders, sharp opinions, no room to disagree. Mom softened his edges, or tried to. Her apologies filled rooms he emptied. When the recession hit, everything cracked. Mortgage late, bills piling, hope thinning. I had just started my architecture job. Barely steady, barely enough. But I told Mom I'd help. $5,000 a month. Quietly, responsibly, no spotlight. Dad refused online banking. He didn't trust screens, so I wired everything to Helena. She'd deliver it, she promised. Handled, she'd text. Short, clean, comfortable lies. Those transfers became normal. A bill I paid for peace. A duty no one thanked. Sometimes I wondered if they noticed, if they saw me at all. But the thought felt disloyal, so I buried it. When Dad later said the mortgage was stable, I felt proud, warm, useful. But the house still looked tired. Paint peeling, fridge humming too loudly. Mom smiling through it anyway. "Helena's helping us manage things," she said. I wanted to believe her. I really did. That night, I sat under our family photo. 4 smiles, 1 truth missing. If I'd looked closer, I would have seen how uneven we were. How much weight one daughter carried. How much another hid. Dinner that night felt polite. Too polite. 1 breath away from breaking. And I didn't know it then. But the money wasn't the only thing disappearing. If I'd looked closer, I would have seen the cracks forming. That night, the house didn't sleep. Its walls felt thinner somehow. Every sound carried blame. I lay in my old room, staring upward. The plastic stars still clung there. Glow faint, edges dusty. Down the hall, voices murmured. Mom crying softly. Dad pacing broken circles. Helena's door locked and quiet. I turned on my lamp. Opened my laptop. Habit took over. The statements loaded slowly. Line after line accusing me. 5,000 on the first. Every month. My fingerprints everywhere. 60,000 gone. I hadn't meant to fund a lie. But lies don't need permission. Just silence. The next morning, Dad sat slumped. Elbows on the kitchen table. Eyes red, jaw tight. Mom stood by the window. Her coffee untouched. Her hands trembling. "She says it's tied up somewhere," Mom whispered. "A company. A company doesn't pay mortgages," I said. "It eats trust." Dad sighed, heavy and hurt. "We'll talk to her when she wakes." But Helena didn't wake. She vanished. Car gone. Room empty. Only a sticky note remained. "Don't overreact. I'll fix it." I stared until the words blurred. Mom began crying again. Dad reached for his coat. "I'm finding her," he said. "Wait," I told him softly. "You can't chase without proof. Let me handle this." He hesitated, caught between anger and confusion. Then he nodded once. I spent that day dismantling the truth. Piece by piece, like studying a damaged blueprint. Every transfer noted, every date aligned, every message saved. Evan arrived that evening. My laptop glowed between us. "You're digging deep," he murmured. "I have to," I said. "This isn't about money. It's about how long she lied." He nodded, eyes steady. "What's next?" "The bank," I answered. "And then a lawyer." The branch manager frowned as she read. Her pen tapped nervously. "These funds were redirected," she said. "To an intermediary." My pulse kicked once. "To who?" She turned the screen toward me. A single name flashed. Mason Vale. Something inside me hardened. A name. A path. A trail she never expected me to follow. When I stepped outside, January cut my face. Cold. Sharp. Clarifying. I pulled my coat tighter, breath fogging in the air. You wanted to play with trust, Helena, I whispered. Fine. I started walking. Each step a vow. Each breath a boundary forming. Let's see how much truth costs. The truth wasn't hiding. It was waiting for someone to check. If this were your family, what would you do? Comment 1 to stay quiet and keep the peace. Comment 2 to confront the truth, even if it shatters everything. 3 mornings later, the doorbell rang. Too early. Too sharp. Too wrong. I was in the kitchen with Mom. 2 mugs. No sleep. Silence thick as dust. Dad paced upstairs, rustling papers he no longer trusted. I opened the door. A man stood there. Jeans. Hoodie. A smile practiced in mirrors. Morning, he said lightly. You must be Rachel. The name hit hard. Mason Vale. Dad's steps froze behind me. Then he came beside me, jaw set. What are you doing here? He asked. Mason lifted a slim folder. A peace offering wrapped in confidence. Just clearing up a misunderstanding, he said. Helena asked me to bring proof. Mom appeared in the doorway. Her face drained. Her breath unsteady. Proof of what? She whispered. An investment, Mason said proudly. Our startup. He stepped inside without waiting. Spread pages across the table. Mock-ups. Buzzwords. Charts that meant nothing. Dad flipped through them. His voice rough. This is nonsense. Mason smirked. Every big thing starts small. 60,000 small? I asked. His expression shifted. You've been talking to Helena. No, I said. I spoke to the bank. The air changed instantly. Mom gripped a chair. Dad's breath tightened. She believed in this, Mason insisted. She believed in me. And you let her, I said. Because it paid your rent. Before he replied, tires crunched outside. I looked toward the window. Helena's white sedan rolled in. She stepped out slowly, sunglasses hiding nothing. When she saw Mason, her mask cracked. What are you doing here? I told you I'd fix it, he murmured. You weren't supposed to come, she snapped. Dad stood. You took your sister's money. You lied to us. Helena's voice shook. It's not what you think. Then explain, I said. Because the mortgage still slipped. And he bought a new car. She glared at Mason. You said we'd double it. He shrugged. Plans change. Dad slammed the table. You stole from family. It's an investment, Helena whispered. Not theft. Mom's voice cracked. We trusted you, Helena. I stepped toward Mason. So what's your real job? I'm an entrepreneur, he smirked. Strange, I said. Your last business owes child support. His smirk died. Helena gasped. A firm knock hit the door. Red and blue lights flashed outside. Mason stiffened. What did you do? Just returning the favor, I said. I called the police earlier. 2 officers entered. Are you Mason Vale? He stuttered. This is a mistake. But his voice cracked when they cuffed him. Helena sank into a chair. Dad stared at the floor. Mom cried quietly. As they led Mason out, he whispered, You think you've won. I met his eyes. Then I hope she finds someone like me too. The door shut behind him. The house exhaled only when the door shut behind him. The courthouse hallway smelled like cold paper and old nerves. I walked between my parents, Helena a step behind me. No one spoke. Silence felt safer than guessing. Inside, the courtroom buzzed faintly with whispers. The judge entered. The room stiffened. Mason sat at the defense table, too relaxed. He tapped his foot like this was routine. The prosecutor stood first. She lifted a stack of documents. Dates, transfers, screenshots. Each page landed like a verdict. $60,000, she said. Redirected through Mr. Vale. Mason leaned back confidently. Helena stared at her hands. Miss Shortridge, the prosecutor asked gently. Did you authorize these transfers? Helena swallowed hard. No, she said. I trusted him. Mason scoffed. She knew everything. Sit, the judge ordered sharply. The prosecutor continued. She supplied money believing it supported her parents. Instead, it financed Mr. Vale. Helena covered her face. Dad's jaw trembled. Mom held her breath. Then another witness entered. A young woman with tired eyes. A toddler on her hip. He owes us support, she whispered. He disappeared last spring. A ripple of disgust moved through the room. Mason looked away. His confidence thinned. The prosecutor rested her case. Mason tried speaking again. No one listened. The judge leaned forward. Mr. Vale exploited trust, he said. Personal and financial. The sentence fell clean and heavy. 3 years in state prison. 18 months before parole. Mason turned toward me. You think this fixes her? He hissed. You're wrong. I didn't answer. Some lies collapse on their own. Officers cuffed him. He didn't smile, leaving. Helena's shoulders folded inward. She looked small for the first time. I didn't see it, she whispered. I didn't see anything. Dad touched her arm gently. We pushed you too high, he said. We forgot you could fall. I felt something loosen inside me. Not forgiveness. Recognition. Outside, sunlight hit the steps sharply. Cold air wrapped around us. But it didn't sting like before. We stood there quietly. 4 people finally breathing together. No roles. No performances. Dad turned to me. I'm proud of you, he said softly. For telling the truth. I nodded. My throat tightened. Not from pain. From release. That evening we gathered in the backyard. A metal bowl sat between us. Inside lay the last pieces of Mason's promises. Receipts. Photos. Notes he wrote Helena. I lit the match. The flame rose slowly. Paper curled inward like wounded wings. Helena watched until her eyes blurred. He took so much, she whispered. Then let today take him back, I said. Ash drifted upward. Light. Aimless. Gone. For the first time, our silence wasn't hiding pain. It was honoring truth. The house felt different after the trial. Not bigger. Not brighter. Just honest. Mom opened the curtains again. Morning light returned to the kitchen. Dad took slow walks before breakfast. Shoulders lower. Voice softer. Helena found part-time work downtown. Simple tasks. Steady hours. Nothing glamorous. But real. She showed up every day. Sometimes she sat in the garden with Mom. Hands in the soil. Her breath finally even. Her excuses finally quiet. One evening, we ate together again. No fancy plates. No rehearsed smiles. Just soup. Warm bread. Shared air. Dad reached for my hand. You held this family together, he said. Even when we didn't deserve you. I didn't answer. I let the words settle. They didn't erase the past. They didn't need to. Later, I packed my suitcase for Seattle. New job. New apartment. A life that felt like mine. Helena walked me to the car. Her sweatshirt sleeves pushed up. Hair unstyled. Eyes kinder. She handed me a small envelope. Inside, a photo from childhood. Cotton candy faces. Sticky smiles. On the back, she'd written, "Sometimes you lose everything to see what matters." I hugged her gently. No promises. Just understanding. As I drove away, the house looked smaller behind me. Not broken. Just honest again. Family doesn't fix itself overnight. But truth gives it room to breathe. And boundaries give it room to grow. The road stretched open ahead of me. Quiet. Steady. Mine. I left with the truth, and the truth finally left room for peace. If any part of this story stayed with you, let it show. Tap like, share it with someone rebuilding themselves, and subscribe to Echoes of Life for more stories of quiet courage and choosing your own path.